Hi friends! In honor of Easter week, we might not be able to physically be in our own church this year, but let's bring some of the beauty of our churches into our own home with this stained glass project. Louis Comfort Tiffany made his art with colored glass and sunlight. He melted the glass to make artwork for windows in churches and other buildings, and then he started doing smaller projects for private homes. Today's project will take a few steps because we need to let it dry before adding our own colors. Since we have some extra time this week, I figured this could be stretched out over a few days. The supplies that you'll need are wax paper, parchment paper, or any kind of non-stick paper from the kitchen, a marker, preferably a Sharpie that won't smear, non-stick watercolor paint, school glue. I have this huge one, but you could probably get away with just a regular size school glue, a sandwich bag, your trusty scissors, and paint that is not watercolor paint, because we need to be able to drop our paint into the glue. If you have a watercolor paint that comes in tubes, that would probably work as well. If you don't have any paint like this, try it with food coloring. That might work too. It's worth a shot. Let's get ready to paint. To make the template for our stained glass, I've used parchment paper. You could use any kind of non-stick paper. You could even use aluminum foil. And I used a Sharpie to trace a paper plate so I get a semi-round shape. I made the outside of my paper plate, and then on the inside I just drew some lines for us to go over with our glue. This might be something you want to do for your child, just to do the outside, and then maybe you could let them do the inside. For our older children, they don't have to do geometric lines. They might want to do something else on their own. I've just used geometric lines to keep it very simple, but being that this is an Easter project, it might be kind of neat to do a cross or something Eastery inside, maybe an egg with some Easter grass. But once we have that done on our nonstick paper, then we're going to start filling up our glue. So take a cup and a baggie, and we'll use that paper plate again just so we don't make a huge mess. Open up your baggie and stick it in the cup. Now, I happen to have a big jar of glue. We tend to make a lot of slime in our house, but we're not going to be using very much glue for this project, so just a regular Elmer's school glue is fine. And we're going to take a little bit of our glue and pour it in the cup. You really don't need much for this first part. Then take some black paint and drop that in on top of your glue. Just like 2 drops is fine. Take your baggie out. You can see about how much glue to paint ratio that is. Close your baggie up, make sure that the air is out of it. Mix it up with your fingers. So you'll end up with like a gray paste. Now, if you don't have the black paint, or if you want to try it with another color, you can certainly do that. Or if you want to just use your white glue, it'll make it a clear border when it dries, which might be kind of cool too. So after you've mixed up your glue and your paint, then make a little tiny snip for your child right at the very end of your bag, very small. And just like piping a cake, we're going to squeeze the glue towards that open tip. And when you get it all towards the end, you can start going around your design. So I've covered the lines on my design. I also made a little loop at the end of one side. Maybe when this dries, we'll be able to put a little ribbon through and be able to hang it up in a window. And if you make any mistakes, just wipe it right off. From here, leave this out and let it dry for 24 hours. I've taken the glue and poured it in these little medicine cups. You can put your glue in egg cartons, you can put it in little drinking cups. You could even mix it on separate paper plates. I just have so many of these laying around, as I'm sure a lot of people do, that they tend to be really good for art projects. So I've poured in about 2 drops of paint into each cup with the glue. Then I'm going to take my paintbrush and just mix it up until the paint and glue are well mixed together. Now from there, remind your children also to wipe the edge of their brush. This is something we work on in class, not to dribble our paint all the way across the table. So you dip and wipe, dip and wipe. That's something we do a lot in class. So we're going to start with our first color, and what I would suggest is do one color at a time. Come over to your piece, and we're going to start with our one color. Dip and wipe, and then it's a great exercise for trying to make it in the lines, but if it doesn't stay in the lines, don't worry, because eventually this will be peeled off of here and you can see the other side, which should hold the lines from the back. So I'm going to take my paint and I'm going to just start filling in my boxes. They can certainly mix colors within those lines, but when you look at the stained glass pictures together, point out to them how the stained glass is sort of framed by the black lines. Now, you see how it's separating, how the paint is separating a little bit on the paper? Just keep adding to it until it's nice and thick, because for this to peel off as one piece, it all needs to be connected. I don't think our kids will have any problem making it nice and thick. So just go ahead and make the whole area thick. Once I've finished that area, I'm gonna find another area I want to make green. So I filled in the whole design. When I was done, I noticed that there were some spots where the paint had separated. So I'm just curious to see what's going to happen. So I took a different color of paint and dropped it on those areas. And we'll see what happens when it dries. So this needs to be set somewhere to dry again for 24 hours. And then once it has completely dried, we will work on peeling it off of the background. Now, a word about cleanup. If you can, just throw everything away with your glue. Just throw it all out. If you must wash these out or wash out whatever you have, pour this in your garbage first. Don't pour it down your drain. The other thing is with your paintbrushes, go wash them out now. Glue on paintbrushes will ruin your paintbrushes, and I can guarantee that I'm going to need you to have good paintbrushes for another project. So as soon as you get this in a safe place to dry, go wash out your paintbrushes. And I'll see you when we have our dried project. When all the paint has dried, then just pull the backing off of your painting. Slowly, take care to pull it off bit by bit. If it tears, just keep pulling it off. And then if some of it remains, it's fine because the sun gets through it anyway. You can see here. I took a little bit of string and I hung it up, and now we've got our own stained glass. Happy Easter, you guys. I can't wait to see pictures of what you make.